And I'm joined by Spherno.
Hello.
He gets there eventually. And
Just
tonight, as we do, because it's just like the only thing we're good at, we're going to be looking at some Overwatch League VODs from the Overwatch League. I don't know why I said that, to be honest, but if we have enough time, we've selected four to go through, and if we get through four, then I guess we'll just sort of curl up in a ball and cry because we know we'll never be able to adequately time anything in our lives. But maybe we'll see what happens. So we're going to be picking out the first map, Vancouver Titans attack versus the Washington Justice on Hollywood.
That reminds me, I completely forgot to set a timer. So we've got 30 minutes for this one starting now. So before we get in, I wanted to talk about the compositions really quickly before they roll out, and my mouse is having a complete and utter seizure, but that's okay. So coming into this map, this was map 3, and obviously, as you see, the Titans were down 2 points. My mouse is still having a seizure. Come on, mouse, work. Okay, so the Vancouver Titans were like, it's time that we change up our composition. My mouse is just going to lag, and I'm going to have to deal with it. So they put Dalton, Suna, and Shredlock on brand new heroes. They had been consistently running McCree, May, Orisa. I'm trying to make a box, and it's not working. That's... But anyway, they had put them on McCree, May, and Orisa. Everybody else was relatively the same, right? So they decided they had to match Stratus, Tuba, and Roar, which was not a good idea for them because what the Washington Justice were running are they're running very solo heavy heroes, like heroes that rely on their solo potential a lot, which could work for the Titans because they hadn't played together all that often, so that should have been the best option for them. But they were also running, the Justice were running it in a coordinated fashion, which the Vancouver Titans could not do. So that's going to hinder their ability to effectively pull off the same compositions. I believe in the end they end up winning this map, so it didn't really matter, and that kind of comes down to like Dalton's Tracer a lot. But in the end, like in any other circumstance, if they weren't going against the Justice, they would have not been able to pull that off. So we can get into the fight.
Yeah,
See how that
up
goes.
against up against a coordinated team like that of the Boston Uprising, it may have gone differently. So right, they're going to roll out the gates with this dive heavy comp.
Oh,
So
wow, this is not good. I think I have to end my screen share because it is lagging really badly. So you're just going to have to assume what I'm writing is what I'm writing.
okay, so we've got some split position. We've got Sooners down on this point. Dalton's gone round the far left here, and now Raw's going to engage in hard with Stratus.
Take,
And now,
there we go. Yeah, give it a second because your screen is having an absolute seizure.
oh, that's good. But
Okay.
it's right. What we can see is Rolf on the Moira is behind, as is Dalton on the Tracer. And the entirety of Justice have gone from standing up here. This is them, and they've gone through the straight. You see, Aim God and Ark are the last ones to move. But look at how out of position Roar is. He is here. The rest of his team are over here. So this immediately doesn't bode well for the Titans.
Yeah, and the other thing to notice, I don't know, you obviously can't see it, but I'm making a box in the bottom of your screen. If you look really closely, you're going to see Dalton is actually down there. He's also not with his team. So essentially, the Justice are fighting a 6v4, which makes their ability to win this fight extremely likely. And
Especially with
yeah,
Wolf being on Moira.
especially
That's all
with
their healing gone.
exactly. So you're down Rolf, you're down Dalton, you're down your solo carry DPS because like what is Suna's Sombra gonna do, right? Like absolutely nothing. In terms of like
Yeah, and
in terms of damage, like you can set up a good engagement with Suna, but in the end, like you gotta rely on Dalton to capitalize on the hacks and the setups, and they don't have Dalton available to do that.
yeah, if you look at Karkar as well, he's nearly dead already. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Wolf being out the fight is critical. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
Eventually, if I can click off my pen feature.
Yeah, overall, just not a good engagement for the Titans. They didn't go in there very well. They ended up getting Stratus, and I think I'm,
Dalton's earned a tick though. Well done, but
yeah, he's going to get found out.
Dalton.
Okay, so this was a fight that I had actually practiced like going over before, and if before we go into the next fight, I want to go back to way before the fight actually started when the Justice were setting up, and take a few seconds to actually break that down because I noticed a few things that gave the Justice, or that should have, the Justice should have technically lost that fight, and I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so
I'm getting ready now.
yeah.
My technological.
Go back more. Go back.
Go back more. Okay, we'll take that.
I'll no, that's fine. I'll let you know when to stop. Okay. Pause it right. Wait. Right. I guess now would be okay. Or give it a few more seconds. I want to get Stratus in frame as well. So the setup for this fight, they're relying on Stratus to get into the back line, okay? That's like their main, that's kind of their crux of this strategy right here, is that they're waiting for Stratus. If you notice, when you mentioned it, the rest of the Justice had set up right here on this high ground so that they could poke down on the Titans, okay? Roar stays back here on the point. What he's waiting for that initiation from Stratus to leap in and support Stratus from behind. That way they can close in, kind of pincer move on the Titans. But Stratus ends up getting found out and taken out, meaning that by all intents and purposes, the Justice should have lost that fight, losing Stratus that early. But because Rolf and Karkar were, falling low on health and out of position, and Dalton wasn't part of the fight, I don't think the Justice anticipated that. And they took full advantage of it once they noticed. So that's something I just wanted to point out. We can go on to the next fight now.
Yeah, Dalton being set up position basically negates even the kill onto Stratus because they're both down 1 DPS essentially.
God, your screen is having an absolute seizure.
No, my screen is absolutely A-OK, I think.
Then your screen share is having a seizure, which is just as bad because I'm watching in 10 frames per second.
That's all you need, though. So, the thing is, though, I'm going to pause again.
Okay.
Alright, this might make it easy, but if you look at this, Stratus going out the fight has meant Suna's got most this way to the EMP.
Oh yeah, and that's going to
be a big advantage.
Yeah, and it's a storyline that actually carries throughout the rest of this round, is that as long as both of them are on the Sombra, Suna will always be ahead of Stratus. But like you're boxing in right now, having those support ults makes a huge difference because you can have the hack on, but let's say that Lucio manages to get the beat drop before Suna activates her EMP, you've basically negated the entire value that EMP is going to get right out of the gate. So they're going to hang on to it. They should end up using this barrier to negate everything that Suna does, but in the case that they don't, I mean, that should be a fight win, and I think that's how the Vancouver Titans end up taking the point in the end.
Well, suppose we can find out now, not fire out now, not killing anyone yet. So
also notice how far the Justice are playing back. Like they're playing really far back on the point, and their DPS are like ravaging the backline, but they have no support in that instance. They have nothing to protect them, so the DPS are kind of, or specifically Tuba has to play really carefully in the backline. He doesn't have a choice in that.
So kills already come through, nothing more to analyze. Aim God uses Coalescence, keeps everyone up.
Yeah. So this next fight, I also got a chance to watch, and I love this fight because it's just incredible. So can you pause for a second? Right there. Perfect. Okay, that's actually beautiful. All right. So
hey, what you expect?
give me a second. Okay. So Roar was waiting for Elivote to initiate with his self-destruct. That's what the entire team was waiting for. Elivote was going to initiate the self-destruct. They were going to kind of spread out the Titans and then engage them independently of each other. You've got, somebody down there, you've got two back here, you've got Sombra over on the right side waiting for a hack. But Roar is the main issue here because he's way out of position. Like, I don't know if he intended to go that far out or if he just misplaced his jump or something, but he is so far out of his position. I mean, when you consider that the Titans, I'm going to change my color here. Okay, the Titans are positioned kind of in this area. They're between Roar and the rest of his team. So Roar has no support, he has no tank, he has nothing. He has no lifeline whatsoever. So the Titans are going to realize that and ignore everybody. Come on. It's going to ignore everybody except for Roar. They're going to turn around, get Roar, get that pick. And that should spell a fight win, but I don't believe it does, which again just goes back to the Titans are trying to play a coordinated version of what the Justice are playing, but it's not working because the Justice are better as a team than the Titans are, having never played together before.
Yeah, so, let's just watch this grass tube against the stick. Soon use the EMP and then the sound barrier's in. Raw gets burst down there by KSA. And Shredlock goes in aggressively, kept up. Goes in after Arc, finds him. KSA getting work done here. Stratus is the EMP, would it be a fool to commit it? They gave up that tick earlier. If they hadn't,
right,
but be able to refight this.
But there's the crazy thing is that Stratus uses the EMP as a stall tactic, okay? And it immediately turns into a fight initiator. Like, the rest of the Justice see that EMP and take full advantage of it because of how many people he got with it. So they're able to, I believe they end up like staving off this attack. Okay, so they don't, and they have to retreat. But it was just a really weird team fight initiator from Stratus. Like, and that just goes to show you what Stratus is doing for his team. He initiates 90% of the team fights for them. And
yeah,
I mean,
not always successfully though.
Yeah, and to be fair, Suna does the exact same thing for the Titans. That's just a Sombra thing. Like, if you're Sombra, you try to initiate with your EMP 90% of the time, or with a hack, something along those lines. But they get pushed back because the rest of the team just wasn't there. So Stratus' stall tactic ended up costing them a really good ultimate, especially since now Suna's 20% ahead on ult charge, along with the rest of his team, which is also ahead on ult charge. And of course, they start burning them this fight as well.
Yep. Ingolf finds out Kaka too, which just goes with the pistols, causing some chaos. Dalton with a cute little stick onto Arc, but probably too late. By the time KSA gets back, Arc won't be too far behind and obviously loses mobility. Will favour that respawn there, but Dalton's having a decent game so far, at least a decent attack. Sooner on the flank, ain't got to use the coalescence. They want to fight. EMP in, catches free. Stratus has his, there's no point using it, you've already lost two. While he's on the line or on the cart really, and then they fall good initiation from Tuna with the EMP and well followed up on.
Yeah. So again, the major issue that the Justice are having against the Titans is that the Titans are playing with a lot of ultimates, right? They're rotating their ultimates really nicely. And when the Titans lose fights, it's usually just a teamwork aspect. You know, they're caught out of position or they're not playing together. One of them is, you know, trying to be a hero. And that's usually what costs them the fight like that. But when they do win the fights, it's usually off of the back of their ult economy and some solo carrying from a specific member.
A specific tracer. Let's boil it down.
But I don't think it's always Dalton. Like, sometimes Shredlock initiates fights and gets a few picks early on. Sometimes it's KSA getting that diva, like eating an ultimate with the defense matrix and things like that. But yeah, I mean, Dalton does a lot of the initiating, does a lot of that. But see, Stratus initiates with his EMP once again and gets that fight win just because they're playing really coordinated with the Sombra.
Yeah. The risk with Sombra is the grouping up part.
Oh, yeah.
If you stand too close together, then you're going to get destroyed by the EMP. And just a gun will do plenty of damage if you're in close enough.
Yeah, I mean, you have the damage output. It's just kind of like the Vancouver Titans. And here's the thing: is that the Titans have the same output, right? Like, they're playing the exact same composition that the Justice are. But because Stratus and specifically Sombra as
Engar dies with cold.
Yeah. See, and again, it just comes down to like some of the ults are being caught out of position. That's the major issue that both of these teams have quite often, is just being caught out of position and making themselves really easy to catch out. But anyway, what I was saying about Sombra, because I'm kind of on a tangent right now. Sombra requires very few resources to be successful, but a lot of coordination, right? Like you can't, as Sombra, like I couldn't play solo queue without a comm and just go in and say, you know, like I'm EMPing, but not give a warning or a reason or who I'm EMPing, because you need to be able to get the rest of your team to focus them down. And that's where the Titans kind of falter, is that they don't have that coordination just yet. You know, remember, this is their first game that they had ever played as a team competitively.
Yeah, it's obviously working against them, so...
It is, but in some ways it's also working in their favor, because when you have that solo carry or that solo potential, then you don't necessarily have to rely so much on like, oh, my ult's up, is your ult up? No, well then I have to wait before I can make a move kind of thing. That's something that the Titans have in their advantage.
See? Oh, nice hack from Stratus. That's just poor awareness from Rolf there.
Yeah.
Found out for that one. Pulsing on Stradlock. Nicely done too there. Feels Stratus on the exit though. That's good. Dalton has definitely turned up tonight, or whenever this was, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago. Time is relative.
It was actually 3 nights ago. Today's Tuesday?
3 nights ago.
Yeah.
Today is Tuesday, yeah. We don't do tangents here. Dalton missed Pulse Bomb. So, yeah, that's the Diva Jewel won by Dalton. Well done him. Pat on the back.
And see, it's Stratus waiting for that initiation, because once he initiates, the rest of his team can collapse in on the Justice, or on the Titans, because he does have that EMP. So he's waiting for that opportunity, and, you know, he's calling out to his teammates like, hey, wait for that, try to group them up, try to corral them, and you're going to see the Justice try to close in on them, try to get them into a smaller area, so that Stratus's EMP can do as much damage as possible. I don't believe he gets a ton of value from it here, because they're so spread out, but he does get like 2.
Yeah, he gets just Rolf, I think.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
Now Raw on the back line has the primal. Rolf is going to be feeling that one. EMP bombing from Xar and Suna. Tuba falls to the Coalescence. Such an impressive ultimate. Taking out 2 if you count the mech. Stratus is in on the Panic Doomfist. I'm a fan of that. Shredlock falls down low. There's the numbers on the cart. They're just not finding the kills, the Justice. And then the kills found them.
Yeah. So the major things there that you got to pay attention for both of these teams, because both teams are sort of bottom of the barrel teams. Exactly, right. Although, okay. In all fairness, I don't think the Titans are a bad team. Okay, and my reasoning for saying that, like, sure, they're contenders players, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. Like, a lot of contenders players are really good, and a lot of contenders teams are good. But the major thing for them is going to be that they were kind of thrown into this last minute because of the whole Titans drama issue going on. So the fact that they were kind of thrown into it last minute and they only had like 4 days to prepare for both of their games just means that they have to start working on their teamwork more, because a lot of the fights that they were losing was just not coordinating as a team and not setting up some of the plays that they needed to, especially if you decide to run a Suna or on the Sombra, right? You're running a hero that needs a lot of coordination, but you're not running as a team that has that coordination. So
uncoordinated, not ungood, I think is a...
Exactly. They just need to get better working as a team, and once they do, they have a lot of potential to make some of those compositions work. They could have easily taken all 3 maps from the Justice had they run that composition from the very beginning and run it the way it needed to be run. Instead, you know, I think obviously running May, McCree, Orisa wasn't a good idea, just because that's an even more coordinated strategy. Just anything that relied on teamwork wasn't Vancouver's strong suit this week.
Yeah, just maybe hold back on the coordination part just for now. It's good they get the time together because they need it.
Yeah, Oh, we have 10 minutes. If you want to keep going with this game, like we can do one of the other maps just a little bit.
Yeah, it's just pop ahead in time to Anubis, I guess. Right, we're on defense. It's a very well timed pause by me there, but what we can see is I'm gonna bring up my little pen here. Shredlock, he's somewhere over here at the little wall part where you can like jump over, just there.
Yeah.
Look at this. We got Tuba is probably going to flank round here. Stratus is going to bottleneck into this choke with the hack and trying to press. If he gets the hack, we can have the dive come in. And these are supports here. If you excuse my overjoins, they'll go wherever the fight goes. They're both very mobile. So that's probably how the Justice wants to defend. It's how Titans want to attack.
Yeah, and okay, so what I'm noticing here though is that what the Justice are running, specifically their positioning, is very predictable, and the Titans shouldn't have a problem pushing through, especially since they're able to, or specifically Dalton. I don't know if his focus is on Tuba right now, but he can call Tuba's location out to the rest of his team and shut him down. Obviously, Dalton can be called out as well, but that doesn't mean that the rest of his team can't come and assist him. Where Tuba is, if he wraps around, the Justice can't actually go out with him because then they get caught out of position, right? But Dalton is setting himself up on a flank that if push comes to shove, the rest of his team is already in a position where that's a common rotation to make, so they can just rotate and protect Dalton. But Tuba doesn't really have those kinds of resources to make the flank and rely on his team to come and support him if he ever needs it during that fight.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean,
they're running very similar strategies. They're both trying to flank on the right side of the enemy team, and they're trying to oppress with the Tracer, but I just think the Justice are not in a position to aid Tuba if he needs it, whereas the Titans are. So they should take this pretty easily.
So Dalton's going to go in on Elevo. It's caught up there.
Yeah, see, the rest of his team is there. Yeah.
Let's have a look at this from Shredlock. He goes around. I'm just going to... Because everyone else engages here. Tuba stays up here. Right, if I draw my little... I'm going to draw a little ledge part here. Sort of like that. Everyone's playing up on this platform here, which means it's the perfect spot for Shredlock to jump in on. If he comes out through this choke point here, he's probably going to have to burst bubble and he's going to get absolutely obliterated. But by coming in from the side, it's a bit safer an approach and he can chain onto all the members of the Justice.
Yeah, exactly. So he's working with some really good flank routes, specifically as a Winston, which, flank routes as Winston are a little bit weird to get, but if you can time it right and you can coordinate it with your team, which again comes back to the Titans can't coordinate the ways that they need to right at this moment, which, good on them, bad on them, whatever you want to call it, but I don't think that what Shredlock's plan is necessarily going to work the way they think it will. Now, Tuba did regroup with the rest of his team, but look at how the Titans, just by poking and being as oppressive as they are, have pushed the Justice onto that bridge. It's such a thin area. Like, sure, you can jump off, but there's no telling that the Titans just can't bottleneck them into that small area, kind of keep them there.
If Dalton's managed to build up a pulse bomb, which is very impressive after 28 seconds.
Yeah, it really is. Like, that doesn't come around all that often.
No, look at it. Look at that ult charge in its glorious form. It's got full circle there. It's 100%.
Wait a second. What are you... I just saw it and I was extremely disappointed.
Oh, that's comedy gold. That is. I'm never going to say anything funny in that again. So that's it for tonight. The jokes are done. Bye. But no. So Shredlock goes in. They force it back onto bridge and Moore's going to counter leap. Dalton goes off the high ground, recalls back up. Roll gets fallen. has failed early. He's
Oh my God! Your screen share is having a seizure again, my friend.
someone's got to. But yeah, now the justice are corralled. There's an invisible line here. We're going to call it the line of death, or the death line. You can see now, Titans have got presence on the function window in blue. They got this point presence here. Now, if the Justice want to cross this death line, as the name suggests, it will release in death. They are fighting in this small room here. I want to see if I can go over the death line parts, just because that's being in the way at the moment. There we go. They're fighting in this room here, Tuba's up this staircase, and Stratus's main here. So there's this line here that they can't safely cross. Yeah, Elevote can fly it with the defense matrix, but they're going to get melted immediately afterwards. So what this essentially does is it traps these three in here who they can collapse on, and they have to wait for Raw to come all the way back from spawn over here. It'll be spawn the start before they can safely engage. So the Titans have set this sort of trap, I guess. That means the Justice can't fight.
That's entirely true, but I do want to throw something else in there, is that the Titans are also going to have a bit of a hard time pushing into those rooms to confront the Justice, specifically those three members, because if they decide to collapse in on that room, then the DPS for the Washington Justice can circle around and trap them. Then the tables have turned in the Justice's favor, and then they just have to wait for Roar to get back, kind of keep them trapped in that room using defense matrix and keeping Diva topped up until Winston can get back, and then they can collapse in on the Titans and kind of turn it around. So in my opinion, I think the Titans are just as scared to initiate an attack in that room. I'm sure they will. I think that's kind of a given that they will. I just want to see if Tuba and Stratus are able to take advantage of that.
So basically, you have like the crime scene tape here now. Do not cross.
Well,
so if you cross this line, you're going to die. Crime scene tape, investigative tape.
And it works both ways. You know, if the Justice initiate, there's a chance they get surrounded, but if the Titans initiate, then there's a chance that the DPS could encircle and they could do the same thing. So I want to see how it plays out. I want to see how it actually works in their favor. Yeah, and I think this will be the last fight that we get to see because we're going low on time.
So they keep. So as soon as he's Stratus cloak there, so he's going to keep spamming into there. The tanks are rotating damage into here until Dalton gets his pulse bomb, so you can just chuck out any God's Force to cold, and Shredlock pulls the pulse bomb. They invade. It's too hard. Tuba gets a free flank. Also doing enough healing. Nope. Karkar's going to fall. Karkar Rasputin dying to the Russian Queen.
I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't see any of what happened there because your screen share lagged out again.
That's not good.
Nope.
That is what I would call bad.
I agree.
Well, yes. That was the Washington Justice versus the Titans de Vancouver, as the French say. So,